Hi, everyone. It's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is the one, the only Rayceen Pendarvis.
Bam!
It is so great to be here. Hey, Ray.
Hey, love, how are you? Greetings and salutations, all.
Yes, greetings to everyone. And we have a special guest here with us today. So we want to welcome Sultan Shakir to the stage.
Hello, happy to be here.
It is so great to have you here. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Of course. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Thank you. So we want to kick this off with just having you introduce yourself to our viewers and, letting them know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Sultan Shakir. I use he, him pronouns. I am fortunate enough for the next 10 days, at least, to be the Executive Director of SMYAL, an organization that means so much to me. And I know so many other people in the DC area. So just want to thank so many people for just being a part of the SMYAL family for the time that I've been here. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about the organization and the work, but I'm just someone who's so appreciative of the community that I've gotten to work with over my time at SMYAL. And so, yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And so we're talking about SMYAL. So actually, I want to jump into that. So talk to us about your time with SMYAL. And for anyone who doesn't know what SMYAL is, just expound on it, a little bit more for them.
Yeah, so SMYAL is an organization and it stands for Supporting and Mentoring Youth Advocates and Leaders. And it started back in 1984 when some practitioners and community members came together because the district was actually institutionalizing queer and trans youth for being too whatever. Like the men were too effeminate, the women were too butch. There were plenty of people who just didn't fit in any of those things. And so they were actually being institutionalized. And so the community came together and said, no, we need a place for young people to just be themselves. And so it really started with some chairs in a circle in the basement of a church and has just expanded over the course of the past few years. And so I'm fortunate to have run the organization for the past 7 years. And what we've really done is looked at how can we remove barriers that young people have to accessing a lot of the support that the community wants to provide. And we know one of those barriers is housing. Like if you are someone who is not sure where you're going to sleep at night, you're not likely to come to a class about repairing your credit or join a club in school or, even have the, sometimes the connectivity to engage in some different programs. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were looking at all those different areas about how we holistically support young people and how we can remove those barriers. And so we've added a number of amazing programs during the time I've been there in partnership with folks like the housing program. And I'm pleased to say that now we support up to 60 young people every day, 365 days a week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We have staff working with 60 young people to really help them just be the amazing people we know they can be. But, there are barriers in the way. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's education, sometimes it's structural. There are so many employers in DC who still prefer cis candidates over trans or gender nonconforming candidates. And so that's a barrier we have to address. And so we really just look at the work as how can we help empower young people by supporting them to remove the barriers that we know exist for so many different reasons: systematic oppression, white supremacy, racism, so many different things, the economic disparities. So there's a lot, but we really try to work with the community to bring a lot of joy, to bring a lot of love, to bring a lot of support, and help young people be great.
How about that? And that's so wonderful. Of what accomplishments are you most proud of?
So I mentioned one, which is the housing program. And that is such a, I think, big accomplishment because, as I was mentioning, it's something that affects so many people and it's so intersectional with somebody's life. It not only affects, like I was saying, their ability to get a job, but just their mental health of having to just struggle every single day of where am I going to lie down and go to sleep and wonder if I'm going to wake up and be safe. And that's real. And it's a lot of stress to put on somebody who's 18, 19, 20. Another one is something called the LGBTQ Budget Coalition. And so SMYAL worked with a number of great partner organizations in DC to look at how we can work collectively as organizations to bring in more resources for the DC area community. And I'm really happy that by doing that, this coalition brought in $5 million of new funding in this year alone, like just this current fiscal year that started in October from DC government. And so there are programs for returning citizens who are trans. So we're talking about people who've been incarcerated, because it's hard enough to get a job when you're trans or gender nonconforming because of some of that discrimination I was talking about. But when you've got a record and you were just getting out of jail, like it's so much harder. So there's now going to be a person who can help returning citizens who identify as trans or gender nonconforming re-enter like really all of society. Like it's not just getting a job, but like even figure out how to navigate the DMV during COVID is like, what is happening right now? So, it's like, it's a person to like really say like, we love you as a community. We're here now that you're back, and like we want to help you get back on your feet. There's money for seniors and housing. There's money for employment programs to help individuals further their career. There's money for the Office of Human Rights to help follow up on discrimination cases, because it's one thing if you've been discriminated against, but if you just file that case and it just goes in somebody's desk and it's just piled up and no one ever follows up on it, what's that doing for our community? And so the great thing is I think the community was really intentional on saying, what do we need as a community to help all of us? And how can we come together, throw in what we can do and bring in more money? And again, just this year alone, $5 million in new programming for the community. And so I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, that is something to be proud of. That is a beautiful accomplishment. That is a beautiful accomplishment. Talk to me a little bit about the pandemic and, what challenges SMYAL might have faced, because of the pandemic.
Yeah, so I would say first and foremost, like the challenge with the pandemic is we try to provide stability and structure and let youth know what's going on. And when no one knows what's going on, like it's hard to provide stability. Like one day, like you're staying at home for 2 weeks. I remember that. I remember when it was just 2 weeks, we're all going home and we'd be back in the office. And then, it just extended and continued, and like mask mandates and then vaccines, and like, it was just so hard to provide a sense of certainty for the staff, and also the same for the youth. Like we are always like conscious of the fact that we not only have to take care of the young people, but take care of the people who are taking care of the young people. And so for our staff, it was challenging too to, as an organization, provide the kind of clarity that I think people were looking for in such an unclear time. And so I think the good thing is we are developing sort of systems as a community to deal with COVID. People are wearing their masks. I think people are clear that the mask mandate may come, may go, may come, may go. I think it just came back today or maybe yesterday. And so I think we as a community have been doing a good job of adapting with it, realizing that these changes are really all about all of our health. And so I think that was the hardest part about COVID, just the uncertainty. And then of course, like I think everyone knows about like some of the economic challenges of like young people who were like first in and then end up being, last in, so end up being first out and lost a lot of their jobs. But we've been really good about working with community on helping those youth regain a lot of those jobs. And so we're seeing a lot of the dips that happened in COVID be rectified, but I think there's still the connectivity issue of we are connecting with the youth who we can connect with virtually. And there are so many missing young people from school districts, from communities who, when you don't have a physical location that's open the way it was during COVID, we're just so disconnected. And so we're still working in community with school districts and things like that to figure out how do we get people, unfortunately, sometimes back to where they were, but hopefully back on track.
Yes.
Well, what could you have wished happened or been done differently during your tenure?
Good question. I think there are always more ways to provide access to young people to make decisions in different places. Like there's kind of a balance that an organization like SMYAL has to strike of like, how much are we doing for young people and how much are we enabling sort of like young people to be in the space and do for themselves. So we did start some things like the fellowship program where young people came in and still come in and they learn skills to increase their professional development. But I think there's still more that we could have done and can continue to do to make sure that young people have access to the spaces of power, spaces of decision-making, spaces to come tell us this is what they need. And so I think that's always a place where an organization like SMYAL that is sort of staffed by adults, but still is working to empower youth can always push more on, like making sure the youth really have opportunities to lead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's really important. Now, you just recently announced that you are leaving SMYAL. So tell us about that decision and the new position that you are about to take up.
Yeah, so it was an incredibly hard decision. Like, I mean, to be perfectly like blunt, like I cried before I even put my application in about the idea of like leaving SMYAL and leaving DC. Because I've been in the community for a while, and it's so loving. And like even when I was telling that coalition about the fact that I was going, I'm just talking about how like we had just done so much together and really felt like, you know, we were kind of like reaching that point of like, again, going from like getting $0 from the council to like 3 million to 5 million. Like there's such an upward trajectory in so many spaces that, you know, it's hard to leave that energy. But I know there's a lot of like great energy in Philadelphia when it comes to supporting the health and wellness of the community. I'll be going to a really great organization, which I'm happy to talk about. But yeah, so I'm going to the Mazzoni Center. I describe it for folks as like the Whitman Walker of Philadelphia. They're not like officially connected or related, but it's like the health and wellness organization for the LGBT community in Philadelphia. And so another thing that like everybody knows, if you've looked at them, they've got a challenging past. And like I say we now, because I start there next year, but like we have a lot of stuff to talk about in the community about some things that have happened, about some things that didn't happen, everything from, you know, racism to transphobia to like, how do we really own where we were in some places that may not have been the right place at the right time to really get to where I think everybody in the community and on staff and our clients want the organization to be. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think there are a lot of really good examples of community healing that have happened that I'm hoping to look at with the Philadelphia community of like how we as a community can heal and move forward in a way that helps the health and wellness of the community, because it's essential. Like we can't afford to get this wrong. Like our health is so central to our ability to do so many different things that I'm excited about it. I really am.
That's amazing. It's wonderful. You talked about the Mazzoni Center and what they do, but what's the origin of the name?
So the origin of the name is there was a Dr. Mazzoni who would go around to individuals' homes and actually draw blood and then run that blood, individuals who were HIV positive, and then run that blood himself to the hospital when other couriers would not take that blood to the hospital for testing or other diagnosis. And it was, you know, back when everyone was just so afraid of whatever it was called at that time, like the gay cancer, or, you know, whatever, people were just so afraid to interact with communities who were dealing with HIV and AIDS. And so Peter Mazzoni would actually go around himself and draw blood, work with patients, run it from the house to the hospital to really make sure that people had the care and the support that they need. And so I think that kind of like care for the community of we will get done what we need to get done for ourselves and our community has always been at the heart of the organization now called the Mazzoni Center.
Well, that's a great legacy to, you know, become a part of and, you know, able to, and now that you're in this position, you're able to tap into that and to give it even more, you know, and to see your special flavor being injected into, you know, being injected into the Mazzoni Center. So that is so, so important. So have you been to Philadelphia to check out everything yet? What's your impression? How do you feel? What do you think it's going to give, you know, actually being there and being a part of the city now? What is your impression of Philadelphia and what are your predictions of your time there?
Sure. So first and foremost, I am from Philly. I am born and raised. I'm a Philly native. I always told people that, like, if you want to be like famous, rich and famous, you go north to New York. If you want to be really important, you go south to DC. And if you want to just live your life, you stay in Philly. And so, So even though I did go south to DC and really enjoyed it
Yes.
and hopefully like made a big impact, I am like super excited to come home to Philadelphia, like where my family still lives, friends from high school still are. And it's such a vibrant city. It's kind of like low key. Like it isn't trying to like really like promote itself, like come to Philly like New York
Yeah.
is. Like if you want to stop in Philly, stop in Philly. If you want to keep going, keep going. But like
Yes.
Philadelphians know like what Philly has to offer. And hopefully people who come to visit come to discover it too. But the food scene is great. The art scene is amazing. There are murals everywhere.
Mhm.
The like jazz and classical scene is also really great. The people are nice, stressed out like everybody. So maybe not as nice as pre-pandemic, but
Yes.
you know.
Well, I've had the pleasure of visiting Philadelphia quite a few times, and I've enjoyed it every single time. So,
Good.
I love that. I really, really love that.
I love Philly. Philly is the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. So you gotta love it. What will you miss most about SMYAL and life in DC?
So what I'll miss the most about SMYAL really is the stories from the youth that we work with every day. Like hearing about some of the amazing things that they are up to, some of the amazing opportunities that they've gotten to have because of community support, whether it's SMYAL or other organizations that they've connected with in community with SMYAL. Like just hearing the trajectory and the opening of so much like potential and the realization of so much potential is just great to hear about. What I'll miss the most about DC is like there's so many brilliant people in DC who are up to like such great work and such great mission. Like it's really wonderful to be around people who care on a deep level. I will also miss, I have to say, being in a jurisdiction that is run primarily by Democrats. And the fight is largely like, how progressive are you, as opposed to a place like Pennsylvania, where, you know, there's some folks who get in charge every once in a while where it's like, I don't know about that. I actually met my husband working in Philadelphia. We were, we were working to get rid of Rick Santorum. It was back in 2006 when Bob Casey was running against Rick Santorum. Somebody else who, again, sorry, he's from Pennsylvania, but yeah, like it's nice to be involved in an area like DC where, you know, the mayor, who's, you know, hopefully the highest person making a decision, is at least a Democrat. You know, you may argue about some of the decisions that she makes, but you don't have to worry about her like really trying to like restrict like when people can vote or removing abortion rights and things like that. Like it's, you know, it's a different fight.
It is. It certainly it is. It is. And I know, Rayceen, you have some stuff you want to say to wrap us up here. So have at it.
How about that? You talk about 7 years of being at SMYAL. And 7 years is completion. And 8 years is new beginning. And this new journey for you, this new beginning, this new life, this coming home, but starting something all new, you know, and you're walking in your light, you're walking in your greatness, you're walking in this new beginning. But of course, we were always in the nation's capital. Love you, appreciate you, the wonderful work that you have done, how you have taken our LGBTQIA youth. You've given them a place to call home. You've given them the ability to be proud again, to know that somebody cares about them. Someone took the time to say, I see you, I hear you, I honor you, and I love you. And you have put a blueprint on this city like no other. You have stamped something uniquely your own. And for those who will walk into that light and take the seat or your throne, it will be very big and very hard to take and to follow. But you have laid a blueprint of greatness for them to take the mantle and say, I see what he did. I understand what his journey was. I hope I will do him well. I hope I will honor what you have laid down for us. And we at Team Rayceen are looking and praying and lifting you up on your new journey. and looking to, of course, we're the queen of shameless plug, looking to partner up with you in the Mazzoni Center and your new journey, and doing some things that when you would call us to Philly, we would twirl right on down the yellow brick road and come with you on this new journey in a land some call Oz, but some people call Philadelphia. And Mazzoni Center. And we thank you so much. And we wish you nothing but joy, love, success, happiness, and all that your heart desires, and everything that you set in place, that all of the no's will become yes.
Yes. That is great. Well, Sultan, how can people, find out more about SMYAL, connect with SMYAL? How can they find out more about the Mazzoni Center, connect with it, access the resources, throw it all out there?
Sure. So SMYAL is easily accessed at SMYAL, SMYAL.org, or on the social media handles. Mazzoni Center is Mazzoni, Mazzoni, center.org. Both have great social media, and you can access them there. The only other thing, I did just want to say one thing about like the job being hard for the new person. One thing that I'm going to say to the new person is like, I hope it's not hard. And I don't think it will be hard if they tap into the amazing community that is there, like you, Rayceen. You have also always been just such an amazing leader, convener, lover of people that, like, back to why it's like hard to leave like DC and SMYAL. Like there's just so much love that emanates from people like you that you feel it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And to our viewers, the links to those will be in the description below. Sultan, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a pleasure. And we are sad to see you leave DC, but Philly is gaining back a son who will do even more work there and continue to lift up and support the community. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays. And to our viewers, please follow Team Rayceen on all forms of social media. And most of all, thank you for watching. Bye.